Hey everyone. So I thought I'd finally start a YouTube channel. Um, I've been meaning to do this for a real long time, and I've gotten a lot of suggestions telling me that I have a story to tell, and that there's some people out there that would be able to relate to me. Um, I'm 35 years old. I spent the majority of my life partying, my early years anyway. Everywhere in high school, it starts off all fun and games. But when everybody decided to get serious about life, I kept partying and on. And, I sold drugs, I screwed up, I messed with the wrong people. Got arrested a whole bunch of times. I got into some pretty deep, dark places, got into some hard drugs. Tried to get out, went back in, tried to get out. The madness of addiction just kept dragging me down and dragging me further and further into a hole that I just couldn't get out of. And desperate times call for desperate measures, and I ended up making some pretty risky decisions and doing some pretty risky business transactions, and I ended up landing myself in federal prison. I lucked out with a 84-month stay. Originally, it was supposed to be 12 years, but fortunately, due to programming and pretrial and my commitment to recovery in the very beginning, it definitely helped my sentence out. Um, you know, Not everybody has to tell on somebody to be able to get time off when going to federal prison. The first 2 years were really rough for me. I was in a max state prison. This is actually being filmed in Texas, but I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, just South Shore. And I spent my first couple years in prison in Framingham State Prison, which is a max state prison. And then I went over to a holding in Connecticut. And then when I finally got sentenced, I was sent over to Danbury. I'm sure a lot of you have watched the show in Orange is the New Black. Well, I was over there, and that was like hard time because that place is a piece of shit, and there was nothing to do there but talk shit and hang out and eat, and that's it. It was pretty much inmate run. There was like no guards ever, and we just laid around all day and just laughed. And the female camaraderie of coming together, you really you lose like all your dignity and all your privacy when it comes to anything. You shed those layers that what social media and what the world has put up and painted a picture of what your life is supposed to be like, and that's all stripped away. If the guards don't do it at the door when you already have to cough and squat for them, when you get locked down at night, when you're a grown adult and you get told what time that you need to go to bed, or you're tiptoeing and whispering and everything at 9:30 at night just so you can hang out with your friends because you are not ready to go to bed, knowing that it's Friday night and that you're stuck in the middle of nowhere with just today to look at, knowing that you have another 5.5 years ahead of you before you get a chance to even go home. It's a pretty dark place. But I'll get into more of that later. This is more of just an introduction. So here I live in Texas. I got 2 twin babies. God played a funny trick on me because the whole time I was locked up, I could have sworn I was never going to have babies and that I was going to be too old, and you can hear them in the background. I have 8-month twins. I have a boy and a girl. Their names are Amelia and Jacob. And let me introduce you to them. They are crawling all over the place. This is Jacob. Jacob, say hi, buddy. That's my little man. And look at this little one over here. She just rolled herself. Ooh, come here, mama. She just rolled herself into God knows where. Honestly, there is no manual when it comes to these babies. I have no idea what I'm doing. All I know is that I've always wanted to be a mom. And I will tell you that it is not the easiest thing in the world. Especially because, you know, when I first got out, I was bartending and I was center of attention. I'm a very much people person. I'm wild and I'm outgoing and I love meeting people. If you bought something from me on Marketplace and came to my house, chances are I asked you to be my friend and wanted to hang out. I'm that desperate as far as needing some adult interaction. But most of my day I spend hanging out with these guys. We stay locked in baby jail in my living room, which is right here. I live in an average size house. My husband, him and I, we met shortly after I got out. He had just gotten out too. And we were both in halfway house. And we fell for each other. And, you know, I went home on home confinement, which is kind of like home detention. And he moved in with me. And shortly after, right on Valentine's Day, after I got out, I found out I was pregnant. And it was a happy and scary surprise because at the same time, not only mixing with just getting out and being in recovery and on parole and everything, getting into a relationship with somebody who came from a much harder prison, who's walked a completely different path of life, and he's completely different ethnically raised too. He's Hispanic as well, so you know I speak horrible Spanish and I get made fun of for it all the time, but we completely blended and we made some beautiful babies, and we are just trying to figure it out on a daily basis. But it's interesting. Needless to say, I love my life. I wouldn't change it for anything. I love the man that I'm with. I love my family. I love my babies. They drive me crazy sometimes. I did go through a lot of postpartum, and I will get into that as well. I lost a lot of weight real quick because of my postpartum. You know, the isolation of being by myself all the time, being a stay-at-home mom is not as easy as people make it out to be. It's very lonely, and especially when you don't have any friends around. I do have my family close, but a lot of it has to do with my pride and the fact that from being locked up for so long, I learned how to cope and deal with things by myself more, and I know I should ask for help more, but I don't. And I think that I'm failing myself in a way because it was kind of been a coping mechanism for me since I've been locked up. You know, I've lost a lot of people being locked up. I've missed out on a lot of things, and I've just learned to swallow it and figure it out on my own. And if I can't figure it out on my own, I just put it somewhere in my mind, and I just tell myself I can handle it. And so I don't ask for help a lot, and I get in my feelings a lot about it too, because I know I should be asking for help. Instead, I try my best, but then instead I build resentments, and you know, and I almost seek out loneliness. It's like drinking the poison and expecting someone else to die, you know, and I almost self-torture, and I'll isolate myself, and it sucks. So I don't know if that's postpartum or if that's just me trying to figure out how to reestablish myself into society. But I'm going to be popping in on this channel a lot and going through some things on my day-to-day basis. As you can see, like, I'm usually a hot mess. I don't do much, but I do bring these babies out all the time. I refuse to be a babies that live on their schedule. They are on my schedule, huh? She is the good one. She is always smiling and laughing, and she is a crazy girl. And then my sensitive boy, he is more of the smart, not saying you're dumb, Amelia, but he is more of an observer. He's more sensitive, and he's just like his daddy. As you can see, Baby Tunes is a big part of our life. And you know, I hope some people follow me, friends and not friends, and just anybody who wants to know what it's like. You know, you guys watch Orange is the New Black, but they don't really, I actually never really watched the show, but I've never really seen anybody do anything as far as post, you know, like what happens. Like, you know, I am that girl who got out in Halfway House and met the man that she's going to marry in Halfway House. And statistically speaking, there's only like a 10% chance that two people upon re-entry that fall for each other actually make it. And right now, both him and I have been out over a year, almost 2 years now. We are still both on parole. We have the opportunity to get off early. We have babies, we have a dog, we have a house with a 2-car garage. Oh, we live paycheck to paycheck. We are doing everything legit and legal, and it's not easy. And we are still trying to figure our relationship out too, because I'm a very touchy-feely person, and I want to be told that I'm loved, and I want to be told that I'm beautiful like every other girl wants to. And I daydreamed about the man that I wanted to be with when I was locked up, and you know, and I found that man. He just happens to be a little rough around the edges and a little bit harder to break through. But you know what? I know he loves the shit out of me, and at the end of the night, like, he's got my back, and I have his back. And we have these babies' backs, and there is nothing like this little family that we have. We are unconventional, and we are crazy, and there is so much more to come. But for now, this is just the introduction. It's about to be dinner time. I'm going to figure out how and when I'm going to tune in, and even see if anybody hits on this. So, to all you guys out there, peace, love, and happiness. Have a good night. I hope to see that I got some followers, because I'll keep recording. Because I will tell you, this shit gets funny. I am clumsy and silly and serious, and it's sad and happy and everything all mixed in between. But this is it. This is what happens to a girl who gets out of prison who's just trying to do the right thing. And I'll tell you, it is a challenge. So, signing off for now, and I'll check in with you guys in a little bit. All right? Talk to you soon. Bye.